I sat alone by the crackling campfire, the flames casting eerie shadows that danced across the forest floor. It was midnight, and a dense fog had settled over Willow Lake Campground, cloaking the surrounding trees in a veil of mist. The chill of early November gnawed at my bones as I huddled closer to the warmth of the fire, my breath mingling with the swirling fog. Earlier that evening, I had arrived at the campground seeking solace in the wilderness, hoping to escape the pressures of city life for a few days. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of unease had settled over me, a feeling that I couldn't shake no matter how hard I tried. I had brushed it off as nerves, attributing it to the isolation of the campground and the unfamiliarity of my surroundings. But now, as the fog thickened and the shadows grew longer, I couldn't help but feel that something was watching me from the darkness beyond. I shook off the feeling and tried to focus on the crackling of the fire, the only sound breaking the silence of the night. But then, from somewhere deep within the forest, I heard it, a low, mournful wail, like the cry of a lost soul. My heart skipped a beat as I strained to listen, but the sound faded as quickly as it had come, leaving only the rustle of leaves in its wake. I tried to convince myself that it was just the wind, or perhaps an animal prowling through the underbrush. But deep down, I knew it was something more. I glanced nervously around the campground, half expecting to see a figure lurking in the shadows, but the darkness remained empty and still. I cursed myself for letting my imagination run wild and resolved to extinguish the fire and retreat to my tent for the night. But as I reached for the firewood, a voice whispered in the back of my mind, urging me to stay. It was a voice I didn't recognize, faint and distant, yet unmistakably sinister. I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the firewood, before shaking my head and dismissing the thought as foolishness. With a determined sigh, I gathered my belongings and doused the fire, plunging the campground into darkness. As I made my way back to my tent, the fog seemed to thicken around me, wrapping me in its cold embrace. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs sent a shiver down my spine, and I quickened my pace, eager to escape the oppressive stillness of the night. But then, just as I reached the safety of my tent, I heard it again, the same mournful wail, closer this time, echoing through the trees with chilling clarity. I froze in place, my heart pounding in my chest as the voice whispered once more in the darkness. "Stay," it urged, a cold wind that sent a chill down my spine. "Stay and face the truth." I wanted to run, to flee into the safety of the night and leave this cursed place behind me. But something held me rooted to the spot, some unseen force that compelled me to stay and confront the darkness that lurked within Willow Lake. And as the fog closed in around me, swallowing me whole, I knew that I had no choice but to heed its call. For the horrors that awaited me in the depths of the forest were far worse than anything I could ever have imagined. And now, as I lie trembling in my tent, I can only wonder, what secrets lie hidden beneath the surface of Willow Lake? And will I ever escape its clutches? Or will I, too, become just another victim of its sinister embrace? The night pressed in around me, thick with the weight of unseen horrors. I clutched my flashlight tightly, its feeble beam slicing through the dense fog like a knife through silk. Every shadow seemed to dance and twist, morphing into sinister shapes that taunted me from the darkness. With each step I took, the air grew colder, sending shivers racing down my spine. I had no idea where I was going, driven forward by a sense of dread and an insatiable curiosity that bordered on madness. The voice whispered in the back of my mind, guiding me deeper into the heart of the forest, toward a truth I was not sure I wanted to uncover. As I stumbled through the fog, the ground beneath my feet grew uneven, littered with rocks and roots that threatened to send me sprawling to the forest floor. But still, I pressed on, driven by a force beyond my control. And then, just as I thought I could bear it no longer, I saw it. A flicker of movement in the darkness, a figure shrouded in mist, drifting through the trees like a ghost. My breath caught in my throat as I watched the figure draw closer, its form shifting and wavering with each step. And then, with a start, I realized who, or rather what, it was. It was a woman, her eyes burning with an otherworldly light as she reached out to me with spectral hands. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered, her voice a hollow echo in the night. "This place is cursed, haunted by the souls of the damned." I tried to speak, to ask her what she meant, but my voice failed me, choked off by the oppressive silence of the forest. And then, with a flicker of movement, she was gone, swallowed by the fog as though she had never been. I stood there for a moment, rooted to the spot, before the voice whispered once more in the darkness. "Follow her," it urged, a cold wind that sent shivers racing down my spine. "Follow her into the heart of the darkness." With a sense of dread that seemed to weigh me down like a leaden cloak, I obeyed, stumbling forward through the trees with a single-minded determination. The fog grew thicker with each passing moment, swirling around me in a maelstrom of shadows and whispers. And then, just when I thought I could go no further, I saw it, the source of the voice, the heart of the darkness that had consumed Willow Lake. It was a cabin nestled deep within the forest, its windows aglow with an eerie light that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. And as I approached, the air grew colder, thick with the scent of decay and despair. I hesitated on the threshold, my hand trembling as I reached for the door. But before I could turn back, a voice whispered in my ear, a voice that chilled me to the bone. "Welcome home."